Welcome back to another episode of Hot Mess Espresso, you guys. We actually have a return guest back. We have Kevin Palmieri. How are you?
I'm living the dream. We had a wonderful little conversation behind the scenes. I'm
Yep.
excited to be back, and I'm curious to see where we go today.
I know I'm excited to have you. I was kind of wondering how this was going to go, and then you've been posting some really, really profound stuff on Instagram that kind
I
of just
appreciate it.
makes people think. Do you get a lot of feedback on those, by the way?
So we're in an interesting time where I actually am no longer doing my social media, which is weird for me. Our wonderful team is doing it. I make the quotes, so it's still my stuff. But yeah, no, I have been getting more feedback, which is interesting. I don't know if I've just become more wisdomatic in my 35th year of life. I don't think that's what it is, but I've been getting some more feedback. Yeah.
Yeah. How is that, like, not being in control of it?
I'm pretty used to it because our production team has been producing the podcast for the last 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm somebody who's pretty good at letting go.
Yeah.
I'm not a perfectionist. So for me, go make mistakes. I don't care. I literally told the social media team, Nicole, the wonderful Nicole is the director, said, it's not your job to make me look good. Don't worry about it. I don't care. I don't care if you use bad pictures of me. I don't care. Just do your thing. So yeah, pretty easy.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a control freak, but honestly, the one thing I want to hand off is my social media. Just like someone else do it.
It's draining. It
is.
It's draining for a lot of people, and it's a privilege to get to that place, and I'm very grateful that we've gotten there.
Yeah, for sure. So, second, I'll just edit that out. I literally just brain farted.
It's all gravy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Right. This is why I have notes. And I found them. Okay.
You're good.
So if anybody was wondering, just complete side note, why we started doing videos, it's his fault.
Nice.
literally, I think the episode after yours, I think I was recording 4 in a day, which we'll get into sustainable, but not sustainable. Definitely not. I finally learned that 2 is my max per day, that I'm going to record, because once you hit that third one, you're just done. But I remember back in, I think you closed out season 3, but season 3, I was talking about wanting to do video and wanting to do this and that, and you were just like, just do the video. Like, it works. And I was like, okay. And I think the one after you, I started the video on because, I was like looking at my notes, doing this, doing that, like with yours, because I was like, nobody's going to see the video. So, but yeah, no, we are doing video now, and it is literally Kevin's fault. And I thank you for that. Because
what's that been like for you? It's
been interesting, just because I know I have a really bad case of RBF. So when I'm listening to somebody, I can look incredibly bored, and really I'm super invested while also kind of making notes on what they're saying, and being like, oh, we should circle back on this. And it's constant when you're hosting, somebody will say something and you're just like, ooh, let's go into that. So it's been a little crazy, but nobody has messaged me and been like, you literally look bored out of your mind. So I think I'm doing okay. But it is exhausting because you're just like, and you're
it's a lot.
It is.
It's a lot. And I think it's different for a man. I just put on a hat and I put on a black t-shirt and I'm kind of off to the races. And yeah, I haven't shaved, so I need to shave. But I have a lot of clients who are women, and they're like, Kev, it's harder. I want to look good. I want to put makeup on. It's like, I completely understand. Yeah. And I don't understand, honestly. I can imagine what it's like to have it that way. So that's the reason I asked.
Yeah, no, it's, my first couple of seasons that I was doing video, I was full makeup, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm just like, you know what? This is why I spend a ton of money on skincare. So I don't have to do this is no makeup and some mascara and a baggy t-shirt, because that's me. I'm not wearing a full face of makeup 24/7. My hair's in a bun. Everyone's wanted the authenticity. This is literally authentically me. Yeah. In a bun.
It's on brand.
On. Yeah, it's exactly.
On brand.
It is very on brand. Along with sending you the wrong link.
Well, that's, that is par for the course. That's it happens, my friend. It happens to the best of us.
When you're throwing links left and right, man, you're just you're gonna miss a couple.
Of course you are, and you're never gonna stop. It's always gonna be something. You always make a mistake. We literally, we dropped our 1829th, 30th episode yesterday. Alan recorded with the wrong mic, and the team missed it, and it's You would think
happens.
we would have it figured out after 7 years. There's always going to be some level of mistakes.
Yep. That's that makes for like some good, like, authentic content though. When
Yeah.
you're like, yep, we screwed up, and people are like, oh, thank God they're not perfect. Like,
Yeah.
there's proof.
I don't think the goal is to get so good that people can't relate to you. I think
Mhm.
the goal is to get so comfortable in who you are that you can admit what all your mistakes are, because then
Exactly.
people connect through mistakes and vulnerability and insecurities, especially insecurities. So I agree.
Yeah. So I'm just like looking at my notes, which my notes
Please.
are screenshots of your Instagram because we were just talking about like the content that you've been posting and stuff. There were a couple of quotes that really, really stood out to me to the point where I literally messaged you and I was like, we got to talk about these. So I guess we're going to start with your quote. The best way to start to make changes is by starting with something sustainable. What, this is such a like ridiculous question, but like what inspired that? Like just that advice, like personal experience, just things you were seeing.
Yeah, working with so many people at this stage, hundreds, that maybe thousands, I don't know. It's been a lot of people. One of the common things you hear in the self-improvement space is take massive action.
Yes.
I think that works for a subset of humans who have 10 out of 10 self-belief.
Mm-hmm.
After realizing that most people don't have 10 out of 10 self-belief, myself included, we started to try to help people start with goals that were almost embarrassingly small.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you start with something that's embarrassingly small and you actually accomplish it, then you can reshoot and reshoot and reshoot. Then once we started going down that path, we started talking a lot about New Year's resolutions and why they don't work. The reason New Year's resolutions don't work is because they're not sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking 12 months of expectations and then putting them into like 15 seconds of thinking and saying, yeah, I'm going to lose 50 pounds this year. Yes, this year, not in the first week.
Right.
And in the first week, you have to just put your shoes on and drive past the gym and then go to the gym for like 5 minutes and then 6 minutes, then 7 minutes. By the time you're 3 months in, you're going to the gym 5 days a week. Awesome. But that's not where you start. So something I always used to say to people when I was a personal trainer is the diet and the exercise routine that is best for you is the one that is most sustainable for you. Not for me, for you. It has to be personal to you. So yeah, that was a really big piece of it. And I've just been on this tirade, for lack of better phrasing, when it comes to taking self-improvement bumper sticker quotes and just saying like, this isn't actually real for most of us. It just looks really good and really sexy. The other one is quit your job and go all in on your thing. Don't do that. No, don't do that.
Don't.
Sounds sexy, sucks real bad. I've done it.
Yeah, there's a reason I have another job on top of this podcasting thing because I love podcasting, but it is not exactly lucrative real quick.
Yeah, it takes some time. I always say there's not exactly a line of people out the door saying, Heather, this podcast is wonderful. How much money do you need so you can just do this and this alone? It's not there yet.
Nope. No, and it's definitely been but again, like you were saying, you have to start with like small goals.
Of course.
Like wow, words are hard today. Like the first thing was just getting the microphone and recording the episode. You know, that was like the big thing. And then there's even been times where I get into a groove and I'm still like, do I really want to do this like forever? And the answer is yes, but you hit these like roadblocks where you're just like, absolutely not. Like, I'm done. I quit. Like, take me out. But yeah,
it's not easy.
It's not
easy, but it's not supposed to be. I think that's the beauty of it. Is I think what happens for a lot of us is our desires become our expectations. The desire is, it's going to go, it'll be easy. And I don't know, probably be like what everybody else is talking about on social media. And that becomes the expectation. And then when the expectation is not matched by reality, you think you're doing something wrong when it's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother
right
thing we've been talking about a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's exactly like expectations are just, and I think people don't factor in that your expectations are perfect world related. We don't live in a perfect world. Things happen. You can literally wake up one day and your entire world is just flipped upside down. And then that like unsustainable goal you had in the first place, just throw it out. You know, like
Yeah.
things happen. So you have to make sure that they're smaller and what's the word? Not biteable, but like they're hard.
Snackable?
We'll go with snackable. They're just like little little bite size goals. Like, and then you work your way up. And that's been something I've had to learn the hard way just because like I've always, you know, the whole shoot for the moon, you'll land amongst the stars kind of thing. Like in theory, wonderful. Practically applied, it's shit.
100%.
Like you just not everybody has that drive. I know I don't. I have to like basically kind of make it muscle memory before I can take the next step. Like the gym. I'm getting my 3 days in a week. I will never be a 5 to 6 day a weeker gym girl. It'll never happen. If I get 3 days in, I'm good. I literally ran to the gym and ran home in between podcast episodes today because I was like, I have 45 minutes. The gym is 4 minutes away. We're going to go. Like,
Yeah.
just, you know, just to get it in because I knew if I didn't get it in today, then I was going to cram it through the rest of the week. And then I was going to feel awful about myself because I didn't get the 3 in. And, you know, it's just a spiral. So it's like, but it's also just finding the time and prioritizing. I really feel.
Yeah. And I think self-awareness is such a big piece. Even that just the understanding of yourself makes everything a little bit easier. It's just, you have to know who you are in order to know what works for you, because what works for Heather is different than what works for me. And what works for me is different than what works for you. And that's why it's so hard to hear advice, because not all advice is for you.
Exactly.
But how do you decipher? You just have to know that the thing that really, really has fired me up the most, or not maybe fired me up, but I used to watch people give advice, and it always seemed like they were talking to somebody else, because it was like, there's no way you understand me. You don't get me. I can tell by the way you're giving me advice. That's layer one. If you're at that point, you already have more self-awareness than you probably realize.
Yeah. Like I would love to be that person that wakes up at 5 a.m. and does this whole like, you know, the things you're supposed to do with like your lymph nodes, and go to the gym and drink water before I'm drinking coffee, and you know we've had an entire day done by 8 a.m. and then we're no I am, if my alarm goes off at 9, I am still like, I'm just not a morning person. And I've accepted that about myself. And I've worked around that to where my day kind of starts between like 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. And then I'm okay. But my day also lasts until about 11 p.m. midnight. But that's like, that's also okay. Like my day's not going to end at 5 o'clock. And I'm like, okay, we're all good. Like, it's not me. I am not those like greet the sun kind of people. If I am looking at the sun, if I'm looking at the sunrise, it is because I did not go to bed and I'm about to be real cranky for the rest of the day because the insomnia hit. Like I'm not that person, and I've accepted that.
It's awareness. It's awareness.
Exactly.
And there's a million ways to do everything. That's the other thing. You don't have to get up at 5. You don't have to get up at 6. You don't have to get up at 4. You got to do what's sustainable. That's brings us back to the original thing. Getting up at 6 o'clock is great if it's sustainable and you like it. Let's say this: if it's sustainable, I mean, you might not like it, but maybe there's a season where you have to do it, right? But if it's sustainable, you'll do it for longer. And if you do it for longer, you'll reap more rewards. And when you reap more rewards, you'll do the next thing, and it becomes this domino effect, essentially.
Right. So I want to kind of, especially on sustainable, just because I have been in some of your groups or one of your groups, but what got you guys to start that whole like group? What exactly are those groups called? Because I know that like different names that they have, and it's like an amazing 12 weeks, but like what inspired you guys to even go that route with people?
Yeah, it's called Next Level Group Coaching. It's very branded very simply because we're not super creative. I believe Alan was on a call with a one-on-one client, and he asked the client, when were you the most fulfilled? And the client said, when I was on a football team. And then Alan said, why? And he said, well, there was a coach and there was a bunch of team members and we had the same goals and there was accountability. that is kind of where group coaching was born, because I think one of the things that is hardest but most valuable when it comes to growth is surrounding yourself with people who are growing in a similar direction at a similar speed.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, it was like, okay, cool. We're already very consistent because we have a team. Let's build a group where people can learn and grow at their own pace, but with the assistance of other people. And yeah, that's where it came from. And even that, we learned in the beginning when we started, Heather, you didn't experience this, but when we started, we had people tracking 12 habits from the very beginning.
I could barely get through the 3.
That's what I'm saying. Not sustainable. 12? Not sustainable. 12. And we wondered why people were burning out. It's like 12. Because I was tracking maybe 30 at the time. So it was like 12. It shouldn't be too bad. No, that's not. I'd been tracking habits for 5 years. So
yeah.
That was another important lesson when it comes to sustainability. But yeah, we started it because of accountability. When you're on a journey with other people doing something very similar to you, it's kind of a nice, a positive, I don't want to let the team down mentality, where you're most likely willing to do more for others than you are yourself. How do we put that in a positive light? That's group coaching in a nutshell. Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah. I'm now seeing why your cat's not allowed in the office.
There's a reason Fudge is not allowed in the office, because he likes headbutts, and he'll sit right in front of the camera and make me give him headbutts.
Max right here.
See?
He was such a beautiful mama's boy, but holy crap, can you just not? If you can just sit real pretty there for a minute. He's not going to. I'm going to have to like gently just him off the chair. But yeah, I think especially 3 habits for people that aren't like habit trackery. I'm not habit trackery at all. Like you get those like habit tracker apps and they want to track like how many breaths you took in a day. And it's like, I cannot. And I think that's what doesn't help us as a society is we have we're surrounded by these influencers and these apps and stuff like that make it seem like what you're supposed to be doing. And it's like a lot more than, living in the society we live in where you need like 3 jobs and, dual quadruple incomes. And it's like the last thing I want to do is track like how much water I had to drink today and, feel shame for the fact that I definitely drank my weight in Red Bull and not H2O,
I do. I'm guilty of it in the past, of thinking the way I live my life is how everybody should live. I had a season where I thought, oh yeah, everybody should be doing what I'm doing. And no, I don't. Now it's very much the opposite. I don't think people should do, unless you want the same things I want out of life, you shouldn't live your life the same way as me, because it's based on core values, core belief, core aspirations. Awesome. But then, so the question then becomes, well, what's the cutoff? Right? How do you set meaningful goals that are important to you and what you want out of life, and then not beat yourself up? Or gentle reframe that I might give is hold yourself to the standard that is constructive, not destructive. How do you do that? I got home from the gym yesterday, and I joke with my wife a lot, so I flexed on her and I said, you ever seen anything like this ever before in your life?
Oh God.
And I do that all the time, so she's used to it. And she said, you love yourself, huh? You really love yourself. And I said, I do. I love myself, and I love my body more when I'm going to the gym. And agree. I said, okay, see, good. Well, not good. Good for you, if that's right. The truth. And I said, because I'm working very, very diligently on myself. But the opposite is also true. Extrinsically, I'm grateful for a strong, capable body that does the things it's supposed to do, and I can. Okay, awesome. But when I'm not pouring into that, I like my body less. I do. Am I telling anybody watching or listening they should have the same reaction? No, I'm not. Nope.
No, not at all.
I have very high standards. I am a bodybuilder. I have been on stage. I know what my body is capable of. When I am living below my standards, I want to raise my standards. I want to get my standards up. I want to get my reality to where my standards are. I think that's the hard thing, is how do you do that in a constructive way without hurting your self-worth, without hurting your self-belief, without hurting your self-concept, without hurting your mental health? That's the $1 million question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think sometimes when we're just like, no, I love myself when it it almost kind of, we're also kind of told by society like, oh, don't be cocky, don't be conceited. And it's,
Yeah.
saying what you're saying would make a lot of people go, oh, well, you only love yourself. But coming from somebody that also goes to the gym a decent amount, I just like when I see what I'm capable of now that I wasn't capable of 6 months ago. Like I like to see, that my quads are getting that fun little loop there, and I'm just like, look at it. Like all the squats that I'm doing, all the sweating, but also like it helps my anxiety.
Yeah.
Like I will be ragey and cranky, and I go to the gym and I hit a hella hard workout, and I get in the car and I'm like, I'm exhausted. And then I'm like, but I'm not cranky anymore. Like I'm in a much better mood,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
very important.
yeah. But I also, as much as I value going to the gym and getting that out of my system, I also value the days that I'm a couch potato.
Mm.
I very much do. I'm like, they're very few and far between, which is probably why I value them so much. But the days that I can just sit and read a book and just binge watch whatever, which I get bored easily, so it doesn't last that long. But I'm just like, this is why I forced myself to go, because now I can be lazy today, or I can just, not go because I'm way too tired to go today because I did too much. Like, I can kind of find like that's the day that I'm going to lean more into just being blah than being productive. So it's just, yeah, it's finding the whole, what you're leaning into that day kind of thing, the priority thing.
Being human's hard.
It's so hard. Oh my God.
It's
so
hard.
Over it.
Yeah, well, it's hard. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do, and there's so many ways out there, and I don't know what the right answer is. I think it's about finding the wrong answers and then trying to lean more into right.
I love that. Finding the wrong answers. Yeah. Because then you just, as you learn what not to do, you can kind of cross more off your list.
Yeah.
Versus constantly trying to find like the right thing.
Well,
I feel anyways.
I 100%. If Heather and I go out, I'm going to take you out for dinner, and I say, these are 5 places. These are 5 options. What are you thinking? 2 ways to do it. You just go through and say on a scale of 0 to 10, how much would I like that? How much would I like that? Or you just cross the hard nose off immediately. Those 3 are gone. Yep. All right, there's only 2 left. If you have the process of elimination working that way, I think it's just easier to do so. But again, maybe that's for me and you. Right. Maybe that's not for everyone. I always say this when I'm talking on a podcast. Take everything I say, filter it through your own filter to make sure it actually works for you, and I'm not projecting my productivity, self-improvement stuff on you. Always.
Oh yeah, because you are so much more productive and self-whatever than I am. Like you and I have been like following each other on Instagram for a while, and when I saw that like cut you did, I was like, absolutely not. You could not pay me to do that. Like, I know that was really great for you, and I know you struggled with it a little bit, even though it's what you wanted to do. But like, I was just looking at that and going, no. And that's the thing. Like, if people can take what we're both saying and they take 1 or 2 things, and the rest of it, they're like, nope, do it.
Yep.
I love that. I find your nopes, because that is going to be much easier to find what actually fits and aligns for you. And that's just what I'm learning the last like year or so, is being comfortable in me and like what I'm okay with, and to stop being so gung-ho on these expectations. It's hard.
Yeah, it is. It's hard. It's hard. Without expectations, maybe you don't have standards. I don't know. This is a very philosophical conversation we're having.
I know.
I think as long as you feel like you're making positive progress in a desired direction, you're probably going to be good. That's what I would say. Is the simplest blanket statement is that is what humans like. Humans like progress. If you can find a way to make personal progress, you're going to be ahead of where you would be if you didn't. That's my I feel comfortable blanket statementing that.
No, that one's perfect. But to change gears a little bit, there was one thing that you said. In fact, it
Oh
was
boy. Oh
time
boy.
stamped. Let me see if I can actually find the timestamp on it. Uh, 9 days ago.
Okay.
Sometimes the hardest part of success is saying yes to the opportunities you've been working so hard to get. I could not respond to that faster and be like, we need to talk about this. Because I feel like a lot of people, especially if you're a small business owner, if you are an influencer, if you are working towards, like a career goal or a personal goal, this one I know it hits for me. It hits for me a lot. So like, I'm guessing you've dealt with a situation like
Of
that.
course. Yeah,
A
of
situation or
course.
two.
A couple, for me, it comes from a place of self-belief. I think there's two places that can come from.
Mm-hmm.
One, you work really, really, really diligently towards an outcome that you desire deeply. Then you get the door, you get the key to the door, you can open it up, but you do not feel like you're actually deserving of what's in the room behind the door. That's a self-worth thing. That's not really it for me. I don't know. My self-worth has been all over the place. I don't know. That's not the issue. I don't think. Where that came from for me was I was messaging one of our mentors who's now a friend of mine. His name's Evan Carmichael.
Mm-hmm.
And Evan is the top of the top in the self-improvement industry, millions of subscribers on YouTube, gets paid a ton of money to speak all over the world, just supremely successful. And I messaged him and we were having a conversation through Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And he messaged me a couple days after that and he said, "Hey, Kev, I have an idea. I would love for you to come up to Toronto and speak to my group at my next mastermind." And I was like, no. The reason I had those feelings is because I knew I had to, but I didn't want to. This was quite literally a dream come true, and I didn't want to do it. I was so scared, terrified.
Yeah.
Said yes because I knew I had to say yes or the moment would pass me by.
Right.
And I ended up going. And the night before, I was in the Airbnb and I was thinking to myself, I have made a very large mistake here. I'm in way over my head. This is going to be absolutely terrible. And I went and did it, and it was awesome. And I got brought back a couple of weeks later for a virtual one in front of 50 people, and it was just amazing. But I had that moment where it makes sense why success is so hard, because you work so diligently to get a result, and then that result brings up all of the internal triggers of not good enough, not smart enough, not capable enough, whatever it is. And it becomes this cycle. Okay. You work really, really hard on the internal stuff. Yeah. You get external opportunities. The external opportunity triggers the next round of internal work that has to get done. And that is the cycle of growth. That is why it's so hard. Whether it's, I don't believe I can do it, or I do not feel like I'm deserving of self-worth and self-belief, but I think that is the cycle of growth.
No, I completely agree. I think also some of it has to do with like, you work so hard for something and then you get it, and there's a little bit of a now what, where you're just like, well, what do I do next? Like, what's the next step? Like, I can't, I'm finally hitting the goal that I want, but it's also terrifying because now I've hit it. Now I don't know what to do, like, from here. So sometimes it feels safer to stay in like that, just that one step below. And you can feel it when it's coming. Like, you sit there and you're like, it's right here, and it's just like the next step up, and you're doing the things to pop it up, but like it's just not quite hitting. And then all of a sudden one day it's gonna hit. And I've thought about this too, especially with like HME and stuff, that like I definitely know that I'm like right at that cusp of like a next step, and I don't know what that next step is, but I think about it and I'm like, oh God, what does that mean? Like, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, is that, it's not that I'm scared of the work, but I am like terrified of the unknown. Like, I know the overwhelm and stuff in my little like complete air quotes small time podcast bubble. it's hard to be small time when you're in 13 countries, but which that one was a little like, excuse me, but it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary to like go hit that next step and then not knowing what involves that next step to get to the next step. And that's also part of the cycle, because you don't cycle in one level the entire time. It's
Right.
cycling like climbing up the mountain kind of thing.
It's challenging. It's a true test of courage. The whole thing is. And I think a lot of it is fear of success.
Mm-hmm.
I used to think everybody was afraid of failure. I thought aren't we trying to be successful? Isn't that what we're doing? And then I started to work with people who are afraid of success. And it was, if every time you grow and you step into a new opportunity, you get villainized, then in your mind, success equals bad because success equals villainization and people not liking you. That's one. If you have any skeletons in the closet that you don't want to get out, it's very easy to play small because just intuitively you're like, I don't know. If the bigger I get, the more likely that's going to come out. So those are a couple. If you know a new level is going to bring more work or more triggers, that makes achieving success harder for sure. So that's why it's so hard to win, because sometimes you're winning, but you don't feel like you're winning and you don't actually want to win more because you feel like you're losing. And it's just this weird grind but then once you start to experience it, then you start to, again, I think self-awareness is everything. If I could get a tattoo on my forehead of what I believed in the most, it would be self-awareness. I'm not going to do it, but that would be what it is for sure.
I feel like self-awareness is like a blessing and a curse sometimes, especially when you're dealing with like mental health, because we're already our own worst critics. And then we're just like, okay, well, this is that. Like, we need to get through it. Like, we know what this is, but like, come on, But to circle back real quick to what you said about the skeletons, my loophole has been my entire podcast is about my skeletons. So
it's one way to do it. That's one way to do it, my friend.
I'm just like, it is permanently spooky season over here. But yeah, that's definitely a big one of just, the just constant cycle of just either not feeling good enough or being scared of the unknown or anything like that. Like, to be completely honest, I made that goal back in January. It's now September. And I actually got it in August. So, and I had hit 100 Spotify followers. And I was like, okay, let's make it 250. Because I was like, there's no way. There's absolutely. And then I hit it. And I was like, oh, I got to get this tattoo. And I was going to get the tattoo. Like, I knew I was going to hit the 250. But it was kind of shocking to hit it, because I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean I hit it? Like, now what's the next goal? Like, I can't continue to like tattoo myself every time I hit a follower goal. So it's like, and I kind of sat, and I'm going to be completely honest, I kind of sat back and my follower count has kind of stalled out because I'm in between seasons, like as of this recording right now. Like, I'm, there were a lot of personal things that kind of happened over the summer that just kind of made me step back. But I'm kind of looking at it and I was like, where was the drive that I had from January to August to recruit another 150 people? Like, where was that? We got to get that back. But I think it was because I hit that step and then I kind of just fell off because I was like, okay, now what?
Yeah. I think it's the expectation thing.
Yeah.
Because the 250 meant something deeper than the 250. It meant, just like in my story, when I crossed six figures, it was like, that was it. It wasn't 99,000. It was 100,000. It's only a difference of 1,000.
Right.
But in my mind, it was, well, I will identify as something different when I make X amount of dollars, which will then fix the internal stuff in myself that I've been working on so diligently that I've never really been able to face internally. I think it's the representation of the goal as much as the actual goal.
Yeah.
Now, maybe it's, and I'm projecting hard, so throw it back at me, please. If
you might be right on the money. I just want to see.
Well, we'll find out. now you realize that setting a goal is actually about the accomplishment of the goal, not what will come from the accomplishment of the goal.
Yep. Because am I
And
any more
that's
famous? No. Did I like sign this to anything? No. But
it's
I hit
different
that
than you think.
250, and that was like insane for me.
And it's
So
wonderful.
yeah.
That's the thing, is it's a wonderful accomplishment, and it should remain so.
Yep.
Just like the next wonderful accomplishment should remain so, even if it doesn't come with a gift basket of things that you thought it would.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, and it's just like kind of finding the next goal that is a struggle, because you're like, okay, do I do 300? Do I do 500? Like, and it's just, but again, like what we were talking about, like in the beginning of the episode, things happen. Like I had all of that, like go, 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 go. And then things just kind of happened where I had to step back from pushing this hard and handle other stuff. Like, and being able to pivot with that is probably why this is still on the air and I haven't quit yet. But it's the expectations. It's just finding a new goal and just it's just about reminding yourself that like you are capable, you can do this. And like even to somebody with a bunch of loyal followers and this, that, and the third, I still struggle with that. Like, it's a strange thing to wrap your head around.
I think everybody does.
Yeah.
I think everybody does. One thought. Okay. This is going to sound like I'm a one-upper. I promise I'm not doing it for that reason.
No. That's one up.
Point.
I don't care.
there's a point, I promise.
Right.
Between the time you and I talked the first time and this time, we crossed 1 million listens.
That's insane.
And $1 million in the business. Whew. On the same day. I didn't want to post about it.
Why not? That's huge.
Didn't feel huge. It didn't feel any different than the day before.
And I get that.
Right? When you're at 999,998, you can kind of, when we wake up tomorrow, it'll be over 1 million. It wasn't what I expected.
Right.
So I didn't want to pretend. I was grateful, of course, but
right.
I had this moment. It was weird. Okay. For anybody who's starting a new podcast, they just started today. They're looking at you, Heather, and they're imagining what would it be like to get to 250. You're looking at me saying, what will it be like to get to Kevin?
Yeah.
I'm looking at whatever saying, what will it be like to get there? That right there is the issue, for lack of better phrasing.
Right.
It's not about celebrating where you are. It's about aspiring to where now you can do both, I think.
Yeah.
Ultimate point, I am guilty of the same thing where I just thought it would be different. I don't know what I thought it would be like. That. And now I think the ultimate goal is I care less about the numbers than I ever have now. I don't know if that's good. I don't know if that's bad. I still track them, but they don't run me like they used to. It's like, we have over 1 million and we're just going to keep doing it. We're not going to stop. So it doesn't really matter. But so maybe there's some value there.
Yeah. I think that actually contributes to why like you and Alan are so successful, because you're not like basing your worth on the numbers. You're basing it on your impact.
Yeah.
Because you have a hell of it. I mean, I remember the first time I like chatted with you, I was like, you are where I want to be in 5 years.
I appreciate that.
And like that still rings true. Like the drive, not even like the success, but it's the impact. Like I see you changing lives and people's habits and people's belief systems about themselves literally every freaking day. And it's like, that's what I want to do. That's what I'm aiming for. And I think, that's, the numbers were great, but also it was the messages I get from people that are like, I sent this to this family member. I have a friend that's a therapist that is literally prescribed HME to a couple of clients that, had family members with BPD, that she was like, this is what you're going to want to listen to, friends that have called me up and been like, okay, well, you said this in your episode and like, we're dealing with this, like what I need a little more info on it. That's why I started this. And I think once I hit that number, I think I'm like having like a whole epiphany right now. It's fine. But like I think that would be the next goal, is to like up my impact, because I've already hit the number that I wanted to. And now that's why the numbers don't really matter all that much, because it's more the impact. I like the aw really stories versus the I hit this number kind of thing, because the numbers don't help me sleep at night.
Did you think you would have more or less or the same amount of impact you did by the time you got to 250 followers?
You know, my overall self-worth is better than it used to be, but it still needs work. So I think I'm still shocked at the amount of impact that I have.
Okay.
Like that one always throws me. Like every time I hear a new story, I'm like, wait, really? Me? Really? What? So, and I kind of don't want to lose that, because I think the second I'm just like, oh yeah, cool, like whatever, is the day that I've kind of like lost the reason why I do this. So
I understand.
But also my self-worth definitely needs like it needs a couple more steps, but you know, because I know I'm capable of this, like, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, I feel like between 0 and 250, or even like between 100 and 250, let's just go with this last year. I definitely feel like I've made enough of an impact that people are actually recruiting other people to be on HME. And that one threw me. That one really threw me. I was like, wait, you actually like want people to be on here? That one was crazy. But yeah, I think I don't know. I feel like it's about the same impact. It's just a different type of impact.
Yeah.
It's really hard that's really hard to measure. Like, that's probably why I like numbers, because numbers are tangible. Numbers I can look at. It's the more the mental thing that I'm just like, wait, what? That one always throws me.
It's a weird thing. The whole thing is weird. The whole thing is weird. I want you to win.
Oh,
very badly. You're very welcome. There's a reason I've stayed in touch. I want you to win. I appreciate that. I want you to win. You're a good person. Oh. And that goes a very, very long way. And I always, anytime I see somebody who wants to do what I'm doing, I want to help deeply. I don't care if I ever get $1 of yours in my pocket. I don't care. Right? That's not what it's about. It's my goal, my purpose, my mission in life is to be the type of person I needed. The type of person I needed would do that and say, hey, long time no talk, Heather. What's up? I haven't seen you post anything about the podcast. Everything good? Yeah. The type of person that I needed would say, you got to get on video. What are we doing? Yep. What are we doing? You got to get on video. Don't worry. It doesn't have to be perfect. My first studio was in my living room. It was terrible. God, not good.
You and I recorded when I was in my basement.
Love it.
This is now my third studio.
I
And
love
it's like we're doing the things.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but yeah, I also have that goal of just being the person that I would have needed in high school, or, you know, even just starting out. There was somebody that came to me for podcast advice a few weeks ago, and they were like, I really appreciate you taking out the time. And I was like, well, of course. Like, I didn't get here because, you know, I was super smart and knew exactly what I was doing. I had people along the way telling me what to tweak, what I could ignore, what I definitely needed to invest in. So I'm literally just paying it forward.
Yeah.
You know? So it's been a crazy ride the last few months.
It sounds it. Well, I'm glad the ride is continued and it's in a positive direction, because there's so many lessons that probably just haven't landed yet, that when they land, so much more will make sense.
Oh, for sure.
That's the beauty of it.
But to wrap, any last words, piece of advice for listeners? I know there's so many things, but like, what has been something that has kind of weighed on you in a way that you're really feeling like needs to be shared, or that something that hit you lately that was really profound and you were just like, oh my God, that makes so much sense?
Man, great question. It's a great
I
question.
love the monkey wrench questions. I'm just like, here, curveball.
I just feel like I've probably had like so many. Growth is personal. And I know we talk a lot about comparison and how potentially negative comparison can be. I think when you're comparing your growth to somebody else, that is one of the most toxic forms of comparison, because growth is really holistic, actual, real, character-based growth is really, really hard to see. So try not to feel bad about your growth in comparison to somebody else's growth, because circumstances affect growth. So many things affect mental health, affects growth. If you're dealing with anxiety and depression and I'm not, it's different. It's just different. It's a different game. Just understand that your growth is personal, and it's up to you, and you don't have to do it at a certain speed, and you don't have to compare to people who aren't dealing with the same stuff you are. Just focus on little by little sustainable growth, little by little sustainable improvements, and you'll be consistent. And then you'll get results, and life will be a little bit better then. That
is literal life advice right there. No, that was great. Kevin, I so appreciate you coming back.
Of course.
This has been a blast.
I appreciate it.
If you guys want the first episode that Kevin was on, check out season 3 of Hot Mess Espresso. There was a lot of very good wisdom and obviously Kevin's life story in there. So kind of just so this doesn't feel like we kind of just jumped a bunch of chapters. There was chapter 1. I believe It's episode 8, season 3, episode 8. So check him out. Check out his podcast, which is
Next Level University.
Yes. So if you guys want to get into his group coaching, 1000% recommend it. Honest to God. I have literally been there, done that. It was wonderful. So you can catch him on that podcast. You guys drop episodes every day, right?
We do an episode every day, and then I have a podcast called Podcast Growth University for podcasters that I do once a week. So yeah, 8 episodes a week coming from us.
Yeah, I actually need to catch up on that one because it's in my Spotify, and I just have not had time to sit down and listen, but I'm only a couple episodes behind. So
there's only one a week, so it's not hard to catch up. Right?
I know it's not hard at all. But yeah, catch Kevin on all of that. Catch his Instagram, which is where I got literally all the inspiration for this episode. It is Never Quit Kid, correct?
Correct.
Yep. So you can find that. I'll link it all below. It's fine. You'll find it all. It won't be hard. But yeah, Kevin, thank you again so much.
It's my pleasure. I will come on as many times as you will have me. I appreciate you.
All right.